And we are back for part three. If you're following along, or if you're just coming in to this conversation, I would encourage you to check out the two videos that are below this one on my Facebook wall. If your friends and family are sharing this superior knowledge and you're uncertain of where to find it, just simply click on my name in the post and of this video, and it will direct you to my Facebook wall where there is a plethora of acquired knowledge from firsthand experience and knowledge gained through my trials and tribulations as I go through this wonderful thing called life. And, to encourage the people that are out there, it's important to know that your trials, tribulations, and your struggles should be viewed in a positive way. Because without those struggles, trials, and tribulations, you wouldn't be the man or woman you are today. So with that, let's go ahead and get back into this. We only have two more short pages to go. So let me start back up here. We'll start the last paragraph where we let off. No, we won't. Guarantee to the right of subrogation protection guarantee for being compelled, defecare to be assumed as responsible, secondarily liable, to do so with an exhibit of the COLB, the Certificate of Live Birth, from the debtor state of, whatever state it was issued out of, mine in particular, state of Arizona, as indemnity, and ask therewith if they need anything else from you in consideration of your letter. What they ask not, they waive. Remember, the beauty of silence being estoppel by acquiescence for non-response, and map out the exhibits. Now, the word estoppel is used in here, and estoppel is of the legal realm. I much more rejoice in the word injunction. I really enjoy that word injunction. Regards, exoneration at 965. Who is exonerated, the landlord or the tenant? You have to tweak the letter to reflect that the debtor might be the landlord, and we have no wish to prejudice what the landlord can do or will do with his rights, as we are not his attorney. All we can claim, and we hereby verify this truth to be true, that we are compelled to do so. And if you injure me by trespass upon, violate my due process, and evict me, then hereby this special noble command requires, in the imperative sense of obligation, 500,000 lawful pounds, equivalent value of silver and gold, with equal weight and measures calculated by 22.23 grains of gold per dollar, equivalent upon any injury, trespass upon, or deprivation, violation of my dominion and or peacetime due process rights, and we hereby stipulate that any eviction, removal from my property shall be such a trespass. Stipulation is to enumerate, qualify. We stipulate that if you go silent and yet injure me or damage my property in any way, kind, or how, that's a minimum of 500,000 with a full accounting, unless you guarantee me. In which case, we hereby this special noble command require, in the imperative sense of obligation, demand the surety, insurance, and character number, where it is insurance agent, with verily true responsibility, unlimited liability, and you put up your entire company as collateral if you trespass, deprive, or injure me and or damage my property. Whereas, if you require more time and you provide with particular specificity the fair, just, equal, and righteous reasons that you need more time that verifies your claim, then you may, at my discretion, have 21 days tolling of time. And lack of full compliance with these required stipulations, and or if you fail to provide the loan, the note, the mortgage, and or the verified and proven record of such an obligation, made by knowing, willful, intelligent, and voluntary consent, and whereas, because you have lost all track, any true accounting of my collateral, I'll have to require your sureties, and for these fair, just, equal, and righteous reasons, then these are and shall hereby be recognized as injury, trespass upon, or deprivation, violation of my dominion, power, and or peacetime due process rights, immunities, protections, rights, titles, and interest of a cestui trust, or here thereof, to his trustee, the right of the mortgagor to his mortgagee, collectively herein trespasses, are seen in the eye of equity without statutory limitations, and you are hereby noticed, you are absolutely responsible, also known as ultimate liability, for these aforementioned trespasses, which, without cause shown, are acting without equal authority, dominion, power, also known as ultravirus. Ultravirus, I believe I'm saying that correctly. VIRES. Ultravirus. As shown on the documentary The Big Short, Steve, no one is being responsible. 5 million Americans evicted, had 100 trillion in assets stolen, leaving a total of 25 million homeless. And we're on the brink of that again in 2021. Notice claim press B writ of mandamus. Whereas the king never dies, the dominion powers rights of the king can never die, and I, me, my, we, ourselves present this special noble command order by the heir to the throne under the King of Kings' conscience to do your ministerial duties to honor the fair, just, equal, noble righteousness within 21 days, or else accept, recognize, and acknowledge your bad faith, unclean hands, intent to be guilty of sin called contempt by blasphemy of such Roch HaKodesh, and intent to deprive rights, commit treason, whereas the decree, discovery, performance, status, as exhibits A and B have been freely given, and whereas so much time ABCDTG has elapsed so as to give rise to negligent fraud and such irresponsible breach of fiduciary nature and character has been worked by those who conspire to trespass with bad faith and unclean hands to commit fraud, that we now and hereby require this, our court's prerogative power for the mandamus, and whereas when the reason for the law disappears, the law itself disappears, and whereas the reason for the last century's laws neither have nor hold intent nor purpose, and whereas equity is backward acting, thus it shall have no power over me. Therefore shall it be acknowledged and recognized by the tolling of the time unto XYZ DTG, absent fair, just, equal, noble, and righteous show of cause. Why to deny the 21 days tolling of time shall create injunction / estoppel by acquiescence for non-response. So it is written, so it shall be done. Now the SCOTUS, State High Court, Marshal Service, all operate on your side behalf. See Chief Justice Roberts regard Brailsford case 2 months prior to we are clearing the docket to make room for the more substantive cases. Read between the lines, folks. He's talking about equity. And that concludes this document. And again, just to add to this, I want to go in briefly, and I'm not going to go very far. I just want to go into it briefly. The two different realms here, and because I need you guys to understand this. And let me grab something real quick. I'll be right back with you. I have an abundance of notepads. These things are sometimes my best friend and my worst enemy because I have a tendency to write in all of them, and then I've got to keep track of where I made my notations on what I was studying. And so, just to help you guys out, all right. You see all these beautiful little scratches and chicken marks, and it's a number of there's a lot here. So I want to go through. Let me put this microphone back up here so you guys can hear me. I just want to go through some equitable words with you guys to kind of help you out a little bit. We've got harmony, forgiveness, debt forgiveness, trust, love, mercy, honor, opportunity, accord, and satisfaction. Maxims. It's important to understand the maxims. There's legal Roman maxims that are equitable by characteristic, and then there's the true maxims that are equitable by nature. So don't get confused with that. A lot of people misconstrue Roman civil maxims as being equitable, and it's not always the case. Good faith, good conscience, gleaned, abstract deeds, land deeds, motion to compel the trustee. Nope, that's not the equitable words I was looking for. That's a separate, there's my chicken notes there. Chicken scratches. Okay, so we'll move on. And I want to explain to you the two competing realms and jurisdictions, because it will help you immensely. There's a young man that's struggling, and he's like, I just want you to prove it to me. Just show me the straight line. Show me the straight line. Well, as you can see, the line on my paper is far from straight, okay? Because there is no straight line. It's about ascending of the mind. And so we'll go through, you've got equity, which is on the private exclusive side, okay? Which is the righteousness of the Heavenly Father. And then you have statutory public, now martial law or military code, okay? There's only two competing realms. You've got the at-law side and the exclusive jurisdiction equity. That is it. There is nothing in between. Although they'll say there's auxiliary and all this other cockamamie horse shit, and you can use it if you want. So be it. Far be it from me to tell you to limit yourself, okay? Equity is the foundation of the law. The creation of at-law can never be greater than its foundation, equity. Good reason and good conscience, all writs derived from equity, okay? So in the legal land, you do see writs of habeas corpus. You do see writ of mandamus. But I want you to comprehend that all of that came from equity, okay? Because the at-law side is very envious of equity, and thus they mimic equity because they so seek and desire to be equity, yet it can never be that way. And so when we look at the equitable side of things, we have in camera, chancery, fair, just, and right, love, honor, trust, harmony, respect, dignity, good faith, good conscience, morality, grace, legal disability, exclusive equity, non-statutory, unalienable rights, lawful, universal law, American English equity, Constitution for the United States of America. Believe it or not, that's a trust. It's a trust indenture. It's definitely a trust document. There is no common law in the exclusive jurisdiction of equity, ladies and gentlemen. If you're running around saying, give me the common law, trust me, you are not going to like what you receive. Pomeroy, 354, fundamental rights, pure by nature, inherent authority, legal by character, which is a little confusing because you're going, well, why are you using the word legal in the equitable side? Because on the equitable side, in the exclusive jurisdiction of equity, there is one avenue for a lawyer to enter in that realm, and it's legal by character. And that's so they can come over and do the full accounting and jump back over as bean counters on the other side of the ledger and balance the books. own property, equitable by nature, man or woman are equitable by nature, okay? Not persons. Persons are not equitable by nature. Man and woman are equitable by nature, okay? The Ten Commandments is equitable by nature. Legal by characteristic equals the trustee, the attorney, okay? Trust indenture, law of the trust is the intent. So it's the intent of the trust is the law indenture, the trust indenture. And the trust indenture is, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, the law of the trust. It cannot be breached. It cannot be overrun, or you would have a breach of trust or possibly even collapse your trust. So it's got to have the purpose and the property rights. Then on the statutory, at law, public side of things, you have concurrent, you have auxiliary, and you have law. It simulates equity under the concurrent side. Under the auxiliary side, you have discovery, attachments, and their writs. Habeas corpus, mandamus, things of that nature, demur. And then at the law side of things, at the at-law side of things, you have statutes, codes, ordinances, and legal. Under the public at-law side, you have Roman equity and Roman legal maxims. You have privileges on the at-law side under military occupation. On the at-law side, you also have equitable by characteristic. Now, that's quite a feat. You know, we're talking about the at-law side, and you keep hearing me tell you that equitable by characteristic is not equitable by nature. They're two different elements, and you have to be able to distinguish the two in your mind. Then we have Roman equity, we have legal by nature, military court, tenant, renter, chattel, you have the UCC, Roman equity, and then you have the Constitution cannot be seen. Now, I don't know how many of you have been in a court setting and brought up the Constitution, and the administrator sitting on the bench says, if you bring up the Constitution one more time in this room, I'm going to put you in jail for contempt of court. The Constitution will not be heard in this courtroom. It does not apply. That tells you what jurisdiction you're in. You're in a military court. You're going through a military tribunal. You are not going to see the administration of the Heavenly Father in that courtroom. You're not going to see the grace of the Heavenly Father in there. And so it's up to you to change those jurisdictions. And you change that jurisdiction by coming in equitably with clean hands, just seeing to get done what needs to be done and to make sure that everybody is made whole. The exclusive jurisdiction of equity, sending your offspring to school, is a trust. Going to a doctor is a trust relationship. It's a relationship of confidence, right? Which manifests a trust. A husband and wife joint bank account is a trust relationship. It's a trust. There exists no relationship that is not a trust relationship, ladies and gentlemen. Seal your active case, trust relationship, plead the trust, exclusive jurisdiction of equity. Lawyers cannot be heard in the exclusive jurisdiction of equity. That's why when you consult an attorney and they say, oh, that guy Derek, he's just batshit crazy. He's nuttier than squirrel shit. He don't know what he's talking about. Well, the reason they're probably telling you that is, one, they're really not taught about equity in law school. They're taught about form, and they're taught about legal proceedings and a number of other things in legal land. But what they're not taught about is what I'm speaking to you of. Okay, and that's because they can't operate in that realm. So what would be the significance of teaching them that? Okay, now I do run into lawyers from time to time who are extremely learned, and it is an absolute pleasure to speak with them. And they do know about equity, and they're very, very keen as to what's going on, and they respectfully say that it's admirable, Derek, that what you're doing. And unfortunately, we can't join you because we do have an allegiance and we do sit on the other side of this. But keep going. You're doing good things. Don't stop. It's very encouraging considering that I bash almost every lawyer I've ever talked about. I mean, for all intents and purposes, what they're doing is creating controversy in order to justify their existence when otherwise no controversy exists. But we ourselves create the controversy by arguing. There's no need to argue. The facts are not in dispute. Why? Because there are no facts, ladies and gentlemen. Not in the military tribunal. There are no facts at all in dispute. Okay? So what would we challenge if we were going to challenge anything in a military tribunal? Well, we would challenge the territorial, look at this, another notepad. Imagine that. We would challenge the territorial jurisdiction in the geographical region and location if we were going to argue on the legal side of anything. And we're really not even arguing. It's just simply a challenge. You stated the claim that you've got jurisdiction. Now I need you to prove it. And it can't just be said that I have authority and this court has jurisdiction. I'm not talking to you, Chancellor, Administrator. Just sit there and look pretty. All right? I'm talking to the whack-a-mole over here on my right side who thinks they've got fucking jurisdiction. And now I'm compelling them to perform. They wrote a check their ass can't cash, and I'm going to nail them to the wall. So when we're challenging territorial jurisdiction, that's at the at-law in rem side. And it's not necessarily equity, but it does compel them to perform equitably. All right? And so the Federal Reserve, Title 12, subsection 411, this proves there is no money, ladies and gentlemen. We also find that true in House Joint Resolution 192, and then again in Public Law 7310. The people are the line of credit. Now, how do we know this to be true? Well, first and foremost, when they took everything from us in the first instance, which was of substance and value in the economy, they took our money, okay? They took what is a lawful dollar from us. And when they did that, they now have an obligation. They're a debtor to us, we the people, fiat currency, correct? So who is furnishing the bond for the beneficiary's interest? If you're in a case at the at-law side, in rem, in the military tribunal, you have a right to command and compel them to put a bond up, okay? Now, if you don't mention this, you waive it. Ta-da, say goodbye. So make sure to bring it up and tell them that we're not moving forward until somebody bonds this case for $1.5 million to ensure that I'm indemnified for any harm, damage, loss, injury I may sustain in a falsified record being created and generated without firsthand superior knowledge of me causing harm, injury, damage, or loss to another man, woman, or child, and absent a contract that I knowingly and willingly and of my own free volition entered into, right? So we're going to require that they bond it. Who has furnished the bond for the beneficiary's interest? Who would be the beneficiary? I'd be the beneficiary of this. Now, if we're talking in equity, we'd be going into subrogation, right? Signatures, the signature is the collateral. The courts are involved in insider trading. And how do we prove that we the people are the line of credit? Well, McFadden, 1932 through 1962, this was a long drawn out court case and finally ruled on by the Supreme Court that the American people are the line of credit. We are the creditor. Credit on account is generated from signatures, not property. Everything is a tax issue, okay? Everything is a tax issue, ladies and gentlemen. On an alternate evaluation on a carryover basis is the reason why attorneys and everyone you do business with has a tax liability. Why? Because they're accessing the estate as executors, okay? And as executors under Title 26, 2203, they are absolutely responsible under 2002 for paying the tax for touching the estate. Naughty, 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 naughty. You touched it, now you bear a liability. Please review Title 26, 2032AE11. Most attorneys and judges don't know about this, okay? They're always exercising, even if they do know about it, they're always exercising what is known as plausible deniability. But if you get it on and for the official record, there's no more plausible deniability. Now we have breach of public policy, breach of their fiduciary duty, and breach of trust, which could lead to seditious and insurrectious behavior and treason, all right? No man is above the law, for all men are responsible for knowing the law they enter into. That's how you hem them up. If you have a qualified heir, that makes a written application to the Secretary of State for the termination of the maximum amount. The agents bear the responsibility of the taxes for charging up the estate. Why? Because they never bonded the case. The agents are claiming to be a qualified heir, and they are not. So how do we catch them at this? We do it through discovery, writs of discovery. This is again on the legal side. We're changing jurisdictions here, and I want you just to see the separation between the two jurisdictions, and I hope that I'm articulating it clear enough from my chicken scratches on here. Do you have tax liability? This is a question that we would ask them. Yes, they do. Why? Because they are the ones bringing false charges. They're presuming and assuming that you somehow owe an allegiance to Washington, D.C. and are presumed and assumed to be a citizen of the District of Columbia, making statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations applicable to you. Do you have... let's see here. So, where are my chicken scratches out of order here? There we go. Let's get back to it. So another question that could be proposed, am I a decedent? Of course you're not the decedent that they're looking for. Have I accepted the liability of the decedent? Am I not the beneficiary of the estate? Do you bear the tax liability for your alternate evaluation on your carryover basis? Number 5, did you put up a bond for your tax liability? Are you making a claim on my estate? Have you given up your citizenship? What court of law is this? What jurisdiction, civil or criminal? If it is civil, appoint them all trustees of the subject matter. Why? Because under the Power of Appointment Act of 1951, they all are trustees. Not only that, 63 Charlie and Jurisprudence 2D. When you read it, all agents and agencies are in fact trustees of the people. Period. End of discussion. If it is a civil, appoint them as trustees over the subject matter. Are you in breach of contract for failure to bond this case? And the answer to that is absolutely. They're in breach of trust. They're in breach of contract. 10, notice of understanding. I accept conditionally under the proof of claim, Title 26, and again, we're in legal land over here in Title 26. When we're using titles, statutes, codes, city ordinances, rules, and regulations, we're at the at-law in rem side. You cannot commingle the exclusive jurisdiction of equity with what I am telling you now. Okay, we're shifting jurisdictions, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to cement this in your mind. Title 26, Section 2041, 2038, 2514. Write those down. Title 26, 2041, 2038, 2514. Power of Appointment Act of 1951 gives you the delegated authority and power to appoint them and assign them as trustees. You're giving a power of appointment as assignment of them being the trustees. And under sections 406 through 407 of the Uniform Trust Code, which is statutory trust. Okay, don't get it construed. I have so many people that get a hold of me going, well, Derek, you're talking about trust law, and the statute says when I'm talking about the exclusive jurisdiction of equity, I'm talking about a private trust. I'm not talking about a statutory trust. This is a statutory trust. Section 406 through 407, Uniform Trust Code. Appoint all the trustees, judges, clerks, prosecutors. They're all trustees. They will attempt to play dumb. Remind them ignorance of the law excuses no one, and that no one is immune from taxes, okay? A capital gains tax must be paid by them. Thus, they are trespassing on your estate. When they ask if you understand, they are attempting to make you liable for the taxes and the bond. You ask them for the 1099 OID, which they should have already completed, ladies and gentlemen. Demand all funds on all cases, including the one you are involved in. Only a beneficiary can file a claim. I am the executor. UCC1 is the claim. A maritime lien is a secret lien. And again, that's in the statutory realm. And so I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys so you understood the difference in between the statutory, and I hope I'm conveying it properly to you in a way that you'll be able to understand it. So again, if we go back to this, you can see where the line is drawn between the equitable side and the statutory side. Equity, statutory, exclusive, private side, and at-law in rem side, okay? And that's what I'm trying to convey to you today. So with that said, I've got a plethora of work to do. I hope that what I've spoken to you today about resonates with your mind. Don't get frustrated if you don't understand it all at once. It's not something that I learned overnight. It's most certainly something you will not learn overnight. In the one realm, the empire, There is municipal, code, practice, commerce, war powers, general, public, at law, legal maxims, mode, practice, and procedures, legislative, territorial, District of Columbia, and in the other realm, the kingdom of the heaven of God, right? The kingdom and glory of our Heavenly Father. There is inherent equity, private, substantive, equity maxims, unalienable doctrines, principles, modes, practice, and procedures, judicial power, core private rights. Okay, and sound principles and doctrines is important. And with that, I'm going to go ahead. Oh boy, why did I open this now? I want to go into it now. All right, I'll get back with you later today, and I'll go into this document. Now, I could die in 5 minutes. Screw it. We'll go through it. Equity history. Aristotle, 384 BC. Equity, Aristotle has said, equity is the correction of the general words when the matter falls outside of their senses. Joseph's story. Thus, Aristotle has defined the very nature of equity to be the correction of the law wherein it is defective by reason of its universality. Sir Edward Coke, 1552 through 1634, subrogates courts of the city of New York County, September 1917. The law of nature is that which God, at the time of creation of the nature of the man, infused into his heart for his preservation and discretion, moral law. Call also the law of nature. The departures from the express command of the statute are determined by no principle of the law of evidence, but by principles of an equitable character, excogitated by the judges themselves from those ideal juristic conceptions known roughly to us as equity, and once as the law of nature. Bible in the New Testament, the New Covenant, the story of the stoning of the adultering woman. Jesus used God-conscious mind to judge, not the common law, the Pharisees, or Roman martial law. Okay, he used good conscience, and he said, "Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone." And in hindsight, looking back at that very story told and reading through the parables and being able to read between the lines, you see that Jesus would have been the only one that was capable of actually throwing a stone. And yet he exhibited the grace of the Heavenly Father. Judge not lest you be judged, right? And he said, "My Father will judge this one. But for any of you who wish to judge this one, let ye cast the first stone if you have no sin." And thus everybody put their stone down because nobody had the ability to judge that woman, right? So we lay the inequities of our fellow brethren at the feet of our Heavenly Father so that he may rest his feet on their inequities. In Ecclesiastic, equity or kosher, a prime root proper, to be straight or right, by implication to be acceptable, also to succeed or prosper, direct, be right, prosper. Proverbs 1:3, to receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and equity. Proverbs 2:9, then you will discern righteousness and justice and equity in every good course. Psalms 98:9, for he cometh to judge the earth with righteousness shall he judge the world and the people with equity. Announce that I am free of all the charges against me. Only you can see into my heart to know that to be true. Treat me with fairness. Look at me with justice. Psalm 17:2. Let my sentence come out of your presence. Let your eyes look on equity. Psalm 17:2. Psalm 72:2. May he judge your people with righteousness and your afflicted with justice. May he vindicate the afflicted of the people, save the children of the needy, and crush the oppressor. For he will deliver the needy when he cries for help, the afflicted also, and him who has no helper. Sometimes the same word is rendered in one version, equity, and another, uprightness. Psalms 111:8, or justice. Psalms 89:14. And this is the importance of that King James 16:11 Bible. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I was told and I was told and I was told to read that book. And I just constantly pushed it to the wayside. I never looked at it until I was in prison for 16 days straight. And it was the only thing I had left to read. They took all my legal documentation from me. And I'm telling you, that book is so powerful. And I'm not a religious man. I'm a very spiritual man, okay? I'm not free from sin. I'm no better than anybody else. It's just imperative that you comprehend how important that book is. And I will, to the day I die, I will profess the power of that book because I know it to be true with firsthand knowledge. I use that book in the courts, ladies and gentlemen. That's where my success comes from. It comes from the Heavenly Father being able to give me the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the heart to receive the glorious message within that book that will never be taught to you properly in a church. I promise you that. They will never teach you that in church. I've been in churches where they say you're supposed to respect the government, do what the government says, follow the government, and yet they never read on any further to tell you that you're only supposed to obey a righteous government that fears the Heavenly Father. And when in our history have we ever seen that? We have never seen that, ladies and gentlemen, and we never will, because there never has been a government on this earth that has ever feared the Heavenly Father, if not for Solomon. And when you read about Solomon, and I understand now why the Masons are so dedicated to Solomon. Solomon, every time he was granted something by the Heavenly Father, he continued to give it away, and he gave it away, and he gave it away, and he gave it away so fast that you just wouldn't think it was possible to give it away that fast. And the more he gave it away, the more abundance he got on this earth. And he just couldn't give it away fast enough. And we can all learn from Solomon. It was very, very beautiful. It must regard man as a rational moral being, to take him as such, treat him as such, and allow him to live and die as a man, not a person. He derives his nature and his nomenclature from God, okay, his Christian appellation. Now remember, I tell you, they use the doctrine of idiom sonum against you. They use presumption and assumption against you in the military tribunals, which is where you're at. Make no mistake about it. The presence of the body waves the air in the name unless you rebuke and rebut the name that's being used there. And dissimilar things should not be joined, and similar is not same. And so when you come to this sound conclusion using sound doctrines and principles and morals and ethics and reasoning, you can put them in their place, because what they're doing is falsifying a record using false and fictitious unregistered DBAs that don't exist. And then you're laying claim to it by being there without correcting the record. And the grammatical errors lead you into sin, because you want to be right. You want to be that thing. This whole time, your entire life, you've been told that you are Derek S. Gonzalez or Derek Chaton Gonzalez or any derivative thereof. But the truth be told, you have one Christian appellation that was given to you by your Heavenly Father and passed to you through your mother and your dad. That's how you got it. And if you understand that chain of title, ladies and gentlemen, so long as your heart be true and you come with clean hands, there is nobody that can come against you. Nobody. Because when you stand with God, who can come against you? Only you can answer that question. But I will tell you with firsthand knowledge, nobody can come against me so long as I stand righteous, so long as I stand true, so long as I stand with the Heavenly Father and I don't turn my back on Him. There is no evil that can manifest against me that will prevail. And until government has power to change his nature, it ought not to be ambitious to change his name. A man cannot testify in a court of justice unless he believes in a God. And in the state of New York, in former years, many respectable persons were declared to be incompetent witnesses because they did not believe in a state or of future rewards and punishment. Even under the present laws of the state, the witness must believe in God, who will punish false swearing, or he is incompetent. All right. John Bouvier, Institution of American Law, 1882, Volume 2, subsection 3724, Part 4. The law is nothing without equity, and equity is everything, even without the law. Those who perceive what is just and what is unjust only through the eyes of the law never see it as well as those who behold it. I'm losing my voice. Who behold it with eyes of equity. Law may be looked upon in some manner as an assistance for those who have a weak perception of right and wrong, and in the same way that optical glasses are useful for those who are short-sighted or those whose visual organs are deficient, equity in its true and genuine meaning is the soul and the spirit of the law. Equity exercises an exclusive jurisdiction in all cases of mere equitable rights. That is, such rights are not recognized in the courts at law. Most of the cases of trust and confidence fall under this head. Its exclusive jurisdiction is also exercised in granting special relief beyond the reaches of the common law. And with that, I yield, I digress. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope this is helping you out. I will continue to do the works of the Heavenly Father to the best of my ability, and I will continue to try and educate you on the literature that you can read that may help you ascend to the mind. At the end of the day, you have to know who you are. That's what matters most. And once you figure out who you are, you'll learn very quickly who you're subordinate or who you're subservient to. You can't serve two masters at the same time. You either serve the Roman civil side of things, or you serve the Heavenly Father and you push forward with truth, light, love, dignity, honor, and respect for your fellow man. And when they trespass against you, you forgive those who trespass against you, for you couldn't possibly be forgiven if you don't have forgiveness in your heart. And that was something that I had to learn along this road, because forgiveness for me 10 years ago was impossible. I didn't have forgiveness. If you fucked me over, it was fuck you and here's to me and see you later. There are 9 billion people on this planet. I don't have time to dick around with people who are less than righteous, who don't want to ascend to the mind, who don't aspire to be better every day. And I quickly had to change my mindset, because I feel empathy for the ones who don't see it. And I will continue to come on day in and day out to try and help you see the truth. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks for all your support. Thank you for everybody that donated to the class, making all of this possible. Your support is loved, valued, you are cherished, and I really, really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys soon.